Today I am reviewing the last book in the Cradle series, which is Waybound by Wight. So I didn't actually read this book. I listened to it in the car with my father, and the audiobook narrator was Travis Baldry. He's narrated all of the Cradle series books. He does a wonderful job. He has different voices for every character. You can really tell when it's one person speaking, when it's another person speaking. He has different accents for all of them. It's not something that you have to have, like a lot of narrators don't do that, but it's always nice when you get a narrator who does that, because it sort of involves you deeper in the story, kind of like you're reading it and you have the voices in your head, except it's someone else reading it while you're doing something like driving. Along with having very good voice narration, Waybound is a really good conclusion. It sort of ties up all of the loose ends and sort of expands on things that we already know and gives us more backstory on different people. There are several characters in this book that I think got a lot more quote-unquote screen time in this book than they did in the last couple of books, which isn't a bad thing. It's actually pretty good. They have like a training montage at the very beginning. The book was released in June, but we were listening to a different book, so we didn't get to it until July. There are sort of two major storylines in this book. You have the storyline of Lyndon and everybody in Cradle, who are trying to sort of get rid of the monarchs, because the monarchs are causing the dread gods to stay, and basically the whole Cradle team's reason for becoming this powerful was to get rid of the dread gods. So when they realized that the monarchs were fueling the dread gods, they decided that they would have to either kill the monarchs or get them to ascend. So go up to the heavens and suddenly be really weak instead of really powerful. For the first few books, you sort of get the impression that the monarchs are like a far distance away, and that the main characters will never really interact with them, and that, they're sort of odd, but they're not really going to be main antagonists. But by Reaper, they are completely different. Like, they did a 180 as soon as they realized that Lyndon was going to be a threat to them. Lyndon and his friends were going to be a threat to them. They did a full 180 and suddenly were completely against them. This book is very much action-based. It's fantasy. You've got like the different realms of power in the sacred arts. You've got all of these people with different gold signs, which they get when they get to a certain point in their sacred arts. So for instance, Yaren, she's a sword artist, so her gold sign is that she has swords sticking out of her back that sort of move, and she can actually use them. Zeal, another one of the characters, has horns for his gold sign, and they've all got different paths as well. Dross has returned in Dreadgod. He was back from the dead, I guess. When they were fighting with the Wandering Titan in Sacred Valley, Dross was destroyed. So Lyndon tried to fix him, but accidentally got this morbid, crazy Dross. And in this book, Dross is back to normal, but the main characters do occasionally joke about Dross's old form, in which he enjoyed all things dark, black, and depressing. The other storyline is with Osriel and Suriel. So Osriel and Ethan are the same person, and when Ethan was taken up to the heavens for trial, they realized that they still needed him, because the Mad King was sort of wreaking havoc on the way in basically the entire universe, so they had to get rid of him. So they allowed Osmanthus /Ethan /Osriel to get his powers as the Reaper back, so that he could fight alongside Suriel. And they are trapped in the world Vesper, trying to fight the Mad King during most of the book. So you have your one storyline over here of everyone trying to get up to ascend, because they think that they're going to be safe when they ascend, and there's not going to be anything that they have to do once they ascend except like help out the Abaddon. On the flip side, you've got Ethan and Suriel, who are fighting crazy people and all of their incredibly terrifying weapons. I think it's a pretty good conclusion. It had a lot of humor in it because it's got Dross, obviously. He's sort of the comedic relief in a sometimes very, serious story. I really like the characters. There are two characters who I particularly really enjoy. That's Larian from the Eight-Man Empire. She uses a lot of weapons to help out with fighting the Dread Gods, and she's part of the Eight-Man Empire, which together they're all one monarch, so they wouldn't have to have ascended. Lyndon and his friends could be allies with the Eight-Man Empire because they didn't ever plan on all being monarchs. Rhaegon Shin had hired the Eight-Man Empire to protect all of his things, and Larian just sort of like fake shot a few arrows at them, and that was the extent of what she did. Another favorite would be Yaren. She's very vicious. She's a good example of a well-written character who is sort of equally balanced. She's very much, I would like to stab things and kill things, but at the same time, she can be sympathetic and empathetic. Most of the characters are actually like that. They're all very well-written characters. You never really look at a character and think they've only got like one running joke or running gag, and that's just about all that they're good for. There are some one-off characters, but most of them are still like plot devices. Pacing wasn't like off or anything like that. It made sense throughout the whole thing, and it was a very good book. I enjoyed it, and until I see you again, make sure to make time for reading a good book.